You know, a perennially mediocre old guy like you should be fired pronto. I'll speak to the higher-ups about it. Being related to one of the board members, it'd be a breeze to get rid of someone like you." The man in front of me was completely looking down on me, laughing derisively. With the way he's acting, it's clear that we can't expect him to have a change of heart and work diligently. It's tough to crush a young person's future, but it's for the greater good of the company. Funny you should say that. I was thinking the same thing. Saying so, I gave him a wide, reassuring smile. All the while, I was thinking about how to teach him a lesson. Just pondering on that alone. My name is Robert Stevens. I might be nearing 70, but I'm not ready to lose to the younger generation just yet. I make sure to go for walks to stay healthy and always keep up with the latest information using my tablet. Thanks to that, my health checkups are great, and I'm in top form when it comes to my golf hobby. The stationery company I built from scratch has a few hit products, and business is fairly good. I'm grateful to my employees for their daily efforts. Besides golf, I have another hobby. It's playing harmless pranks on those around me. Of course, something small enough not to be a bother, but capable of bringing a smile to anyone caught up in it. I try to keep it moderate, or else I'll get scolded by my secretary or my son, who is the executive vice president. I love seeing people's surprised faces. Even more so, I love seeing them smile. Keeping employees happy. That is my goal. These days, I've mostly left the running of the company to my son, who is the executive vice president, and my role has been reduced to just reviewing and approving. While I don't want to be outdone by the younger generation, I understand the need for generational change, especially considering the target demographic for our products. With my son handling the business side, I focus on improving the company's environment. A good work environment breeds good work. Wearing a toupee to cover my thinning hair and changing up my glasses and mask. No one realizes I'm the president when I'm cleaning around. I also sometimes disguise myself as a temp worker to observe how the employees work. Seeing everyone work so diligently and passionately is truly heartwarming. I'm planning to visit the sales department for inspection today. With my salt and pepper wig and fake glasses, I'm a completely different person. I wonder what fun things will happen this time. Well, although inspection is the official reason, I'm excited as I head to the workplace. I've explained the situation to Jason, the head of the sales department. My little hobby is well known within the company, and it seems everyone is anxiously wondering when it'll be their turn. But I have no intention of stopping. After all, it seems to be adding a nice spice to the workplace atmosphere, so why not? My seat is at the very end, closest to the door. In other words, it's considered the least prestigious spot. I always find myself assigned to such a place. Upon taking my seat, the young man next to me promptly greeted me. "You're Robert, right? My name is Alex. I'm looking forward to working with you starting today." The young man, speaking in a calm tone, properly greeted me, even though I was just a temp. "Likewise, I'm looking forward to working with you." After exchanging greetings, Alex started explaining the work to me. His explanations were clear and concise, and he frequently checked to ensure I understood everything. I intuitively knew this young man was competent in his job. Morning. Just then, a lethargic voice came from the direction of the door, and a young man with brightly colored hair sluggishly walked in. He heavily sat down at the desk in front of Alex and stretched out with a big sigh. "Good morning, Robert. This is Michael. He's a colleague from my cohort, but..." "Who's this old man?" "Say temp." Well, I'm the ace of sales here, so don't hold me back." I was taken aback by his haughty attitude, but Michael, the young man, yawned loudly without paying any heed to those around him. Michael comes from a family with a board member in our company, and is considered to have a promising future. Alex explained with a wry smile. So, he's a case of nepotism gone wrong, I thought to myself, though I didn't voice it out loud. I just nodded without changing my expression, deciding to observe him a bit more. Michael's work ethic was worse than I had anticipated. He spent very little time at his desk and was often found slacking off elsewhere, browsing magazines at a nearby bookstore or lingering at a coffee shop. Sometimes, he was even found napping or playing games in an unused meeting room. But that wasn't all. He would delegate his tasks to Alex and then take credit for the results. Alex would just give a bitter smile and say, "It's always like this," but if this was the norm, it was definitely a problem. Feeling the need to speak up, I decided to confront him while he was slacking off, pretending it was a coincidence. Today, the first conference room was empty. I pretended to clean and tried to open the door, but it was locked. However, as the president, I had the master key. Carefully unlocking the door without making a sound, I found Michael lying across several chairs. He seems to be sound asleep, courteously wearing an eye mask. Around him were scattered a gaming console, a phone, and several books, making it clear what he had been up to. Wondering how to wake him up as he slept with his mouth wide open and snoring, I decided to start by calling out to him. "Michael, please wake up." But he showed no sign of waking. Resigning myself to the situation, I pulled a balloon from my pocket and inflated it. The reason I carry such an item is to have it on hand for an opportunity to surprise someone. Using a paperclip I happened to have in my pocket, I poked the balloon. The balloon burst with a loud pop, startling Michael awake. "What the?" "Good morning, Michael." I greeted him with a smile, and although he seemed taken aback for a moment, he quickly reverted to his usual smirking expression. "What, it's just the temp old man. Scared me for nothing." He attempted to go back to sleep, so I spoke up. "What about your work? Isn't there a big deal coming up soon?" "Leave that to Alex. He's so earnest it's almost stupid. Even if I don't do it, he'll take care of everything to avoid any inconvenience to the other party. I'm not cut out for boring stuff like making documents. It's about putting the right person in the right place, right? I'll handle schmoozing with the clients. Just smile and flatter them, and they won't feel bad. Plus it boosts my own stock, right? I just need to give it my all on the day of the event. The grunt work is someone else's job." "I see. Is that so?" "So, it seems he's not particularly useful in negotiations or presentations and merely tags along." I wondered if his supervisor was aware of this behavior and immediately doubted it. This type always has a good front. They act arrogantly towards peers or those they consider beneath them but ingratiate themselves with superiors and clients. It's easy to imagine. Indeed, until I witnessed it myself, there had been no reports of any issues with his work attitude. Unbothered by being caught, Michael intended to go back to sleep, lying down on the chairs he had arranged. "I'm gonna sleep some more. Can you clean another room, and don't make noise, okay? Are you not going back to work?" "What, old man, you giving me orders? As a temp, haha, that's ridiculous." He started laughing, holding his stomach as if mocking me. "My uncle's on the board of this company. Someone like you could easily be fired, you know." "Is that so?" "The fact that you're still a temp at your age is just pathetic. You're incompetent, right? Don't act all high and mighty with me. You and I are not in the same league." His dismissive attitude was infuriating, but I restrained myself. Taking my silence as consent, he continued unabated. "You know, an incompetent old-timer like you should just be fired as soon as possible. I'll talk to the higher-ups about it. Being related to a board member, it's easy for me to get someone like you fired." The man in front of me laughed derisively, completely looking down on me. Given his attitude, it was clear he was beyond any hope of reform. It's tough to crush a young person's future, but it's for the company's good. Coincidentally, I was feeling the same way. Saying that, I gave him a broad smile. How should I give him a taste of his own medicine? Just pondering that alone. Just so you know, then get lost. Oh, and it's useless to tell anyone. I'll have you fired in no time. Your future is in my hands. Don't forget that. Okay. Leaving him laughing in the conference room, I walked away. My mind was consumed with thoughts of how to discipline him. The big deal was about getting a national chain of large-scale variety stores to prominently feature our new products. The main target demographic was young women. The design is simple, with a wide variety of colors to make it easy to customize. It's possible to match items like pencil cases, pens, binders, and scissors within the same line, all priced affordably for middle and high school students to easily purchase. Alex was the one loading a few samples into a company car. Michael, who was supposed to accompany him, was nowhere to be seen. I approached Alex and offered to help carry the samples. "Oh, I'm sorry about that." "Not at all. I was told by my supervisor to accompany the cargo." Although no such instruction was given, a white lie can sometimes be excused. I'd explain it to Jason, the sales department head, later. As we were doing this, Michael arrived, slightly past the scheduled departure time. Dressed neatly, Michael could pass for a competent salesman if he kept silent. Well, a salesman shouldn't be silent. Without apologizing for his tardiness, Michael greeted us briefly and climbed into the back seat, immediately engrossed in his phone. Used to this behavior, Alex didn't say anything and just got into the driver's seat. I took the passenger seat, and we headed to the office of the large variety store chain. "If the old man's here, I don't need to go, right? You two can handle it. I'll wait here." After parking the car, Michael suddenly suggested he stay behind, lounging in the back seat and pulling out a gaming console from his bag to start playing. But we told them it would be you and me attending, didn't we? "Shut up. Just say I had a sudden illness and the old man came instead. I'm not really into the receptionist at that place anyway." "Didn't you try to talk to her last time we were there?" "Did I? Well, I'm not going anyway. Just handle it however. I don't see the point in putting so much effort into work." With that, Michael ignored any further attempts to speak to him, engrossed in his game. Resigned, Alex sighed and said, "Let's go," leading the way. I followed him, carrying a large box. The president of the client company, Mr. Anderson, is an old friend of mine, and I've visited his company several times. As expected, the receptionist recognized me and panically started to stand up, but I gestured for her to stay quiet with a look, and she nodded, turning pale. Alex seemed puzzled by this, but when the representative appeared, he silently followed. Robert, I mean. Never mind, it's nothing." It seems Alex is quite perceptive. His negotiation went smoothly, and we successfully sealed the deal. Back at the car, Michael was still engrossed in his game. Alex knocked on the car window and called out to him. But Michael barely acknowledged, just lifting his head. "So, went well without me, right?" "Well, yes, but..." "Hey, old man, don't tell anyone I skipped the negotiation. You don't want to get fired, right? Being homeless at your age would be the worst." Michael's laughter indicated he was mocking us completely. I've witnessed the decisive moment when he was slacking off at work, and I can also obtain testimonies. I decided to summon him the next day. The following day, for Jason from the sales department, I called Alex and Michael to the president's office. Of course, today I was without a wig and dressed in the formal suit I wear for presidential duties. I couldn't wait to see their reactions when they discovered my true identity. As I waited with a smirk, the door knocked and the three entered. "Hello, glad you could make it." I smiled warmly, but Michael's demeanor didn't change much from usual. He seemed unaware of my real identity. Alex looked tense and worried, while Jason seemed confused about why he was there. Yesterday, I heard we secured a big deal, and it was thanks to your efforts. I wanted to express my gratitude. At this, their expressions brightened, relieved. That's expected. It's rare for someone to be called into the president's office for such a reason. They probably hadn't heard of it happening before. Mr. Stevens. Michael stepped forward, seizing the moment. Thank you for your 2 kind words. I've been preparing for this contract for days. His bold claim made my smile stiffen. Unaware of my reaction, Michael rambled on. This Alex here can't do anything without me telling him. What do you call it? Instructed dependency syndrome. So, I took the lead in planning and strategizing. Michael made these claims while eyeing Alex and addressing me. Jason looked bewildered at him, saying nothing. Feeling like I'd seen enough of their relationship, I sighed and spoke up. Is that so? Actually, the client company contacted us, who did the explaining during the negotiation. I did. Michael eagerly raised his hand. I also heard there was someone who stayed in the car playing games. Oh, that was this guy. I told him to act properly, but he wouldn't listen. Michael's ease in deflecting his own actions onto Alex revealed his true character. He seemed to only think about himself. Really, Alex, I thought you were very conscientious. Jason, this guy only pretends to be diligent. I always end up cleaning up his messes. No, that's not true. Alex tried to protest but fell silent under Michael's glare. He must be feeling threatened with the possibility of being fired as well. Regardless, he seems overly timid, but as the president of the company, I should step in and handle this situation. I've heard about it. Some folks occasionally nap in the meeting rooms, and there are employees in our company who linger too long in coffee shops during work or browse magazines in bookstores, causing inconvenience. I've been thinking that we need to address this issue. Yes, that's this guy. Michael pointed at Alex. Alex looked down resignedly, clenching his fists. That's strange. Alex always reports his whereabouts properly. There shouldn't be any times when we don't know where he is. What? When I was in the sales department, Alex was always hard at work. It didn't seem like he had any time to slack off. At my words, Michael's eyes darted around in confusion. No way. Why would Mr. Stevens? When were you in the sales department? Michael tilted his head in utter confusion, to which I responded with a smile. Still haven't figured it out. Look. Saying so, I put on a wig with streaks of gray hair. This is, of course, something I wore while infiltrating the sales department. And as I changed my glasses, Michael's face turned pale in shock. What? You're that old temp guy? Michael, watch your language. Jason interjected, cutting off Michael's words, and Michael covered his mouth with both hands. He must have realized he was in the wrong. It's only natural after all the lies that were told. Yep, I'm the old temp guy. It seems you didn't notice. But you have hair, Mr. Stevens's. Don't you say another word. It seems Alex noticed, though. Alex, suddenly brought into the conversation, hesitantly opened his mouth. Yes, I didn't mention it on purpose since it seemed you were trying to keep it under wraps. I nodded at his words. Alex is indeed excellent, very perceptive, unlike someone else here. Looking at Michael, I saw him pale-faced, opening and closing his mouth, as if trying to come up with an excuse. But he was seen through completely. Any excuse would be futile. So, Michael, you can fire me anytime, right? Because your uncle is on the board, you think your promotion is guaranteed. Strange. In our company, no one can be fired or promoted without my approval, and certainly not just because of family connections. I should probably have a word with your uncle then, shouldn't I? Well. I stood up and opened the door to the adjacent room, which was connected. Inside, my son, the executive vice president, and his uncle were waiting. Michael, what have you done? I may have referred you at the time of hiring, but that was it. I don't have any say in personnel matters. And we are strangers at the company, as I've told you. Using my name to threaten your colleagues is outrageous. As soon as the door opened, his uncle started scolding him fiercely. Michael was already on the verge of tears. Michael, anything you want to say? It's clear from observing you these past few days. Everything you've said was a lie, wasn't it? It was Alex who prepared and succeeded in the business negotiations, not you. On the contrary, you were the one slacking official. The accusations you made against Alex were false. It was you who were doing those things. As I confirmed slowly, Michael slumped to his knees. He was aware of his wrongdoing but thought he could deflect it onto others. Such a despicable mindset. I need to think about how to reform his character. But first, there are others I need to speak with. So, Jason, can't you manage your subordinates? If you had been keeping an eye on Michael, perhaps he wouldn't have gone this far. Yes, you are absolutely right. You knew Alex was overburdened with work, didn't you? Why didn't you investigate? Yes, it's entirely my fault. I thought as long as the work was getting done, it was fine. Understanding your subordinates' work is a critical part of being a supervisor. You should reflect on this as well. I'll inform you of your disciplinary action later, but don't worry, you won't be demoted. I'm looking forward to seeing how you'll improve from here on. Yes, I'm very sorry. Jason offered a deep apology. Taking responsibility is part of being a boss. I've always believed this myself. If you're going to give your subordinates freedom, you must be prepared to accept the corresponding responsibilities. Jason, who is not young himself, probably had been fortunate with his subordinates until now. He likely never imagined he would be in a situation where he'd have to take responsibility like this. Then, I turned to Alex. Alex, your work ethic is commendable. However, if you keep taking on everyone else's burdens, you'll eventually burn out. Don't hesitate to ask for help when you need it. That's what you should take away from this experience. Stoicism is not always a virtue. Remember that. Yes, thank you very much. Alex looked me in the eyes and responded firmly. There was a spark in his eyes that made me believe he would continue to do well in the future. Sales department, let's review everyone's workload. Actually, this applies to the entire company. We need to check if the workload is unevenly distributed or if anyone is being overworked. Let's investigate this. Hearing this, my son, the executive vice president, nodded and began to give instructions to someone. I'd like to say dismissed, but I haven't lectured Michael yet. From tomorrow, you'll be my direct subordinate. I'll have you work closely with me. Wait, directly under you? Seriously, isn't that a promotion? Michael's face brightened up, a stark contrast from his earlier demeanor. But here comes the twist. No, because from tomorrow, I won't be the president anymore. Everyone except Executive Vice President Stevens widened their eyes in surprise. This was news I hadn't yet announced to the company. I wanted to see everyone's surprised expressions. Seeing their shocked faces here, I felt satisfied. I'm stepping down from the presidency. From tomorrow, I'll be rehired in a different position. Michael, as my direct subordinate, let's work hard on maintaining the company's environment. Environment maintenance. Like cleaning, managing supplies, and so on. Tomorrow, I want to start with weeding the flower bed by the entrance. I'm counting on you. Oh, and your salary will be performance-based. The harder you work, the more you learn. Really? For real? Michael could only repeat the same words. After all, a performance-based salary means if you slack off, you won't earn a dime. I decided to closely supervise him and thoroughly reform his character from tomorrow. Time passed, and after revising our workflow, the company became an even better place to work. Alex no longer had his achievements stolen by Michael and was making a name for himself. He was the top performer in the company, and other companies specifically requested Alex for business dealings. I secretly hoped that he could become a right-hand man for my son. After stepping down as president, I could devote myself to my hobby of observing the company. Occasionally, I would discover issues and quietly inform the relevant people or take action to solve them. It's fun, almost like being a detective within the company, Michael would say. Despite my initial expectations, Michael diligently completed tasks like cleaning and weeding. He found the visible progress of cleaning and beautifying spaces surprisingly enjoyable. According to his uncle, Michael was spoiled as a child and had never done chores, but he turned out to be quite suited for these tasks when treated as job responsibilities. With a relatively straightforward nature and the right mix of reward and discipline, Michael might grow into a significant asset. Today, we're maintaining the flower bed in front of the entrance. We seasonally replace and prune the flowers to delight visitors to the company. Taking care of these flowers is mostly a hobby of mine, but some people look forward to seeing what blooms next, which really motivates me. Mr. Stevens, I'm exhausted. I'm going to get heat stroke. Oh my, is it that time already? I tend to lose track of time when I'm engrossed, so it's really helpful when Michael reminds me like this. My son, now the president, and the rest of my family are grateful to him for inadvertently taking care of my health. Let's take a break. Here, Michael, look at my hand. As I said this, I magically produced a piece of salt candy from my seemingly empty hand. It's a simple magic trick, but his exaggerated astonishment makes it fun for me as well. Wow, Mr. Stevens, your hands are magical. Seeing him laugh like that brightens my day. The phrase "the right person in the right place," which he mentioned before, comes to mind now. Being reassigned under me might not have been what Michael initially wanted, but seeing him work so happily now, it might have been for the best. Had he stayed in sales, things might have turned out much worse. Within the framework of a company, everyone has a role to play. I believe fulfilling that role diligently is crucial as a professional. To ensure that all employees work comfortably, we as management must continue to put forth effort. After all, our people are our greatest asset.